We could talk about some of the few beginning steps that we can dig into for the principles of profit first and how to get started and what to identify. But I think on a bigger picture, what people sometimes don't realize is the money part is important, but the sleepless nights, the stress, like when you're less stressed about those things and you have more clarity, you make better decisions and you see things a lot more clear. You know, it's why I like jujitsu. Your mind's clouded. It forces you to reset. It forces you to, it's like shutting your iPhone off and then you reboot. Now everything's fresh. And I think what most people don't realize is implementing the profit first stuff is hard at first, but once you start doing it and it becomes a repetition, the money anxiety goes away. And it's a really weird thing, I think, psychologically as humans, is if we don't face it, then we don't have to admit that there's a problem. Or like, although I feel like this anxiety, like the money's not there, like it becomes truth. If, it's almost like you don't want to go to the doctor to feel like to hear something's wrong. Meanwhile, the only way to really get better is to identify the problem and cure it. But we have this weird thing, and I feel like not knowing is where the anxiety comes in. And part of my thing was, I got to go keep making money. I don't have time to sit down and figure out these, and you make these excuses, but I will tell you that first call was like the hardest one ever. But once you get through it, like the anxiety starts to lighten. It gives you back that optimism that you had when you first started as an entrepreneur and all these things were possible. And it really kind of spreads the clouds and goes, okay, cool. Like there is still some salvation out there. So talk about like money anxiety as a whole, because I feel like until you address that and you're comfortable saying, I need to cure this first and foremost, you're not going to be open to what we need to do to actually cure the problem and implement profit first.
Yeah, I would almost venture it's like in the high 90 percentile of especially entrepreneurs that have money anxiety for some reason, whether it was from childhood, their parents saying money doesn't grow on trees. And so they got some stinking thinking, of like, okay, this is how do you manage money? How do you think that there's a limited supply? Is it scarcity? Or is it the other side where you're just like, I just spend like a drunken sailor because I was never given anything, or like because I feel like I just have to spend, or because the entrepreneurial world is like, isn't this how you're successful? Because you just spend yourself into growth and scale and all the buzzwords that people say that honestly get people to go on webinars and get to attend things, which is great. I want you to scale. But if you don't have a back end to catch the money, that's where the anxiety comes in, because you could be making millions of dollars, doing lots of deals every month, and at the end of the day have nothing to show for it if you don't have a system in place. And that's where, Nick, what you said is so true, that if you think about it, can you even put yourself in a place, if you're listening to this, where if you didn't have to worry about the money like you're worrying about it now, how would you show up in all the different areas in your life? I know for me as a father, I am not showing up in the best light if I'm worried about money, if I am then going to my daughter and telling her to do something, or like having an interaction with her, or my spouse, my wife. That's where if you're constantly making decisions from fear in your business, in your personal life, and a lot of it stems from, I don't have money. I don't know how I'm going to keep the money. I don't know where it's coming from or going to. Then it shows up everywhere. But that's normal too. Like I keep saying it, but it's like, that's what, Nick, that's what I love that you called that out, because it is such a common human experience. But so many people put their head in the sand that no one knows it's a common human experience, because usually people don't get on a podcast like this and then talk about this stuff. Mm-hmm. They say, how many deals are we doing? How did we grow the business? How did we scale to 7 figures? Which, like I said, there's a time and place for that, because I want you as an entrepreneur to make lots of money. I want you to scale. I want you to grow, but I also want your head to hit the pillow and like you get a good night's sleep as well too, and not feel constantly this financial anxiety that most people are feeling. And like I said, it's from lots of different things, whether it's, background growing up, or maybe you took a hit in the business as well too. Market shifted, markets changed. Like it wasn't even your fault. It was something literally outside of your control, or someone falls at a property, and even though you've got the best insurance and the best, like lawyers in town, like you still get taken for a ride. It's like all that stuff that can happen. And that is a common, I would say, human experience, because I think even in most people's personal lives, it's like this, but it's definitely a common entrepreneurial experience if you're feeling that way.